So what's the purpose of nav element in HTML?
Okay, so the basically the purpose of nav element in HTML is to design the markup navigation section on web pages.
Mhm.
So basically by using the nav element, we can help web browsers, search engines, and other technologies understand the structure of our website better. And
Mhm.
it basically identifying the part of the web page that facilitate navigation. So yeah, this is the purpose of nav element in HTML.
And what are the empty elements?
uh, Empty elements. So empty
Mhm.
elements in HTMLs are elements that do not have any content and that does not require a closing tag. So basically
Mhm.
they are sometimes referred to as a self-closing tag also. So basically
Okay.
these elements have only attributes and no enclosed content between the
Mhm.
opening and closing tags, because they don't have the closing tags to begin with. So basically
Mhm.
let's say example of the empty element is the br tag and image tag, and we can say the input tag also. So these are the examples of empty element, sorry. So this is the
Okay.
empty element.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you also explain like what CSS is and basically I just want to know like what its role when we talk about web development. So can you give some shade on this?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the CSS is a tool which used in a web development to design and
Mhm.
style the website. So basically,
Okay.
it is used to design the websites, and it let us to set the colors and fonts and spacing and layouts of web page. So basically, we can set the
Okay.
colors by using the CSS, and we can write the CSS rule that tells the browser how to display the HTML elements, and it makes
Mhm.
our website looks attractive and organized. So
Okay.
basically the css is essential for creating visually appealing web
Mhm.
experience. So this is
Okay.
the
So
css.
you
And
mean like for visual appealing and making our website
yeah.
attractive, we
So
must use
it
CSS,
makes
right?
a website attractive, and yeah.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. Correct. And like as we know, like there are multiple ways to add CSS, right? I mean,
Yeah.
things into the HTML and connect those. So, like, can you tell me the differences between those uh, ways?
Sure. I can tell the difference
Yeah.
between the. So
Yes, yes.
basically, we have three options. So
Mm-hmm.
first one is inline CSS, internal and
Mm-hmm.
external CSS. So basically, the
Okay.
inline CSS is written directly in the HTML tag by using the style attribute. So basically, it
Okay.
affect only the specific elements it adds to. So this is the inline css. And when we talk about the internal css, so it is basically placed within the style tag in the header section of the html document. So basically
Okay.
it applies the style to the element on that single pages. And
Mm-hmm.
the last one, external css. So basically the external css involves writing css in a separate file, so which end with the
Okay.
.css. And basically this file is linked in the html document also. And external css allow us to use the same style rule across the multiple pages. And basically it makes or it make it easier to understand and maintain and update the look of a site. So and it's the most common and good practice to use. So basically external
Okay.
css is mostly used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this
So
is the difference.
which way out of these you guys use in your project most of the time?
So basically, I use mostly the external CSS, in which we have to actually
Okay.
write CSS on different pages. So yeah, as I told you about.
So I mean, like, is there any reason behind using external CSS or like you just
Yeah,
chose
basically,
this randomly?
when we have to make the bigger website and we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
CSS,
Mm-hmm.
there is a single document, and when we have to write on a single document, it makes unusual and unattractive. So so basically that's why we use the external CSS. So if there is a big project, So we have to
Okay.
use the
So
external
you mean
CSS file.
like we should go for inline and internal if we have
Yeah,
small project.
when we have a small type of CSS, so when we write the small types internal
Okay,
CSS.
okay.
So when we have the bigger project, we should
Hmm.
use the external CSS.
So have you used box model in like do you know about the box model in its component?
Yeah, basically the box model is very important concept in a CSS, and the CSS box model is just a framework that describes how elements are displayed on a web page. So
Mhm.
basically it consists of four components, so which is which is the content, padding, and border, and the margin. So basically these are the component of box model. So basically the content
Okay.
is the actual content of the box, which is just like the
Mhm.
text or images, which is the actual content. And the
Mhm.
padding is when we can say it is the space between the content and the border, and border is border itself. So yeah, and the margin is it's space outside the border and separating the element from other element.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Flexbox in CSS is most confusing thing among front-end developers, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
curious to know like what you know about this Flexbox and how this works.
Okay, so basically, yeah, we can say the Flexbox is a confusing concept. So, but it's
Mhm.
also a most important concept in
Mhm.
CSS. So basically, the
Mhm.
CSS Flexbox is a layout model which allow
Mhm.
us to easily arrange elements in a flexible way. So basically it helps in positioning the child element within the parent container efficiently, and
Mhm.
even if their size is unknown or dynamic, we can actually the positions the element. So basically the flexbox make it simple to align item vertically, and we can align item horizontally by using the flexbox
Mhm.
also. So it makes item
Mhm.
grow to the fill unused space. So basically this is the particularly useful for creating the responsive layouts that
Mhm.
adjust smoothly to different screen sites, and it is a
Okay.
popular choice for modern web development. And yeah,
Mhm.
we should use the flexbox also. So this is how the
Okay.
flexbox work. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's making sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you get a chance to use Flexbox to vertically and horizontally center content? Have
We have to do the flexbox vertically, and we can also we can vertically and horizontally align item through flexbox. So basically to use the
okay.
flexbox for vertically and horizontally by
Mhm.
centering content, we need to apply the certain styles to our flexbox container.
Mhm.
So basically first
Okay.
we need to set the container display property to the flex, and
Mhm.
then we should use the justify content center to align the
Mhm.
content horizontally in the center. And we should use the align item center for vertically centering the content. So this setup positions
Mhm.
the child element right in the middle of the flex container, so both vertically and horizontally. Making it is a straightforward solution to centering the content of our web page. So this is the I think very important concept. So this is the flexbox. This is how we use flexbox to vertically and horizontally center content
Mhm.
by using the justify
Mhm.
content center and align
Yeah, yeah.
item center for vertically centric. Yeah.
Mhm. And how to implement CSS using import rule? Like we have a rule at the reading code, right? So can you just explain this, like how
Yeah,
to
okay.
implement it?
So yeah, I can explain the import rule in
Mhm.
implement. So basically to implement the CSS by using the import rule, we actually can include the additional CSS file within the CSS file. So basically this is
Mhm.
very useful for organizing our style sheet into smaller and
Mhm.
more manageable file for including the style from external sources. So basically in order to use it, simply add the import URL at the top of our css file. So basically this lines tell the browser to load and apply the style from the specified css file. So but we need to remember to place the import statement before any other style in our css to ensure they load correctly. So this is
Okay.
method helps in keeping css easier to maintain. So yeah, this is how we should implement CSS by using the import rule.
So, and what are the descendant selectors in CSS?
Descendant selector. So basically, descendant selector in CSS are used to select element that are nested within other element. So regardless of their depth. So basically, this selector target the element that are descendant of a specified parent element. So let's take an example. If we want to style all p tags inside the div element, so we need to write the div p without using the comma. We need to write div then p element, then we need to curly braces this. So this rules applies style to any p tag that insides the div element actually. So even if there are other element in between, the p tag is styled, and descendant selectors are powerful for applying specified styles to element based on their locations within the HTML structure. So this is the descendant selector in CSS. All I know about the descendant selectors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So, mm, like, must have used the float property. So I just want to know their roles in CSS. So can you,
Sorry,
uh,
I can't hear your voice. Your voice is so
okay.
low.
So am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, but your voice is
It's
low, I
still
think.
no.
Yeah, it's right now.
Okay. So like you must have worked on float properties. I just want to know the role of the
Yeah.
float property.
Sorry.
Like what's the role of float property in CSS?
Okay, basically the float property in CSS is used to place an element to the left or the right side of its
Mm-hmm.
container. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's allow other element to wrap and around it. So which it's commonly used within images in the text content, and basically the floats property helps achieve a layout where the text flows around the floated image or an element. So basically by setting the float left or float right, we can control the alignment of the element, and the text of other element will adjust it around it. So this property is essential for creating layouts with elements that need to be positioned closely and interactively with other content of the pages. So this is float property in CSS.
Okay, so you have experience on JavaScript as well, right?
Yeah,
As you mentioned
sure.
on your resume.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what are variables in JavaScript and like how are they declared?
Okay, so basically the variables in JavaScript are like the container for storing data values, and they let us label data with a descriptive name, and we can use that name to refer the data in our program. So basically to declare variables, JavaScript use the keyword just like a where, let or const. So for example, let age is equal to 30. So basically let we sorry, so let's take an example. uh, create we can say the let age is equal to 30. We have to create the let age is equal to 30 and create a variable name age with assigned when we assign the value to the 30. So let allow us to update the value later, and when we talk about the const, so basically it is the value that should not be changed, and where is a older keyword with the broader scope, and these keywords help manage data in our script effectively. So this is how they are declared, where, let and const. So this is the how the
Okay, nice,
yeah.
nice. So and as you told about variables, so like for each variable we should have data types, right? So can you
Yeah.
describe these data types?
So basically, the data types in JavaScript are the
Mm-hmm.
data types. So we have basically the two types of data types. So first one is primitives types, and the second one is
Yeah,
object
yeah.
types. So in
Okay.
primitive data types, we have lot of types. So
Mm-hmm.
we can say we have the strings and numbers and big int, boolean and undefined, and we have the null, or these all are the primitive data types. And when we talk about the
Okay.
object type, so we have only one data type, which is the object data type.
Mhm.
So all I know these data types, all I know
Okay.
about in JavaScript.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. So, we have, I mean, what's the difference between null and undefined? Do you know?
Yeah, basically in JavaScript, null and undefined both represent the absence of value, but there is a different between the null and value. So basically, null and undefined. So basically, the undefined is used by JavaScript to indicate that a variable has been declared, but not but
Okay.
there is value is not assigned to them. So it is also the default return value of the functions that don't return anything. So basically this is the undefined. And when we talk about the null, so basically null is used to represent a non-existence of any object value. So basically it is assigned by the programmer to indicate that variable should have no value, so which is null actually. So this is the, I think, the difference between the null and undefined. So basically undefined means a variable that exists but has not been set to anything, and while null is used to clear an object or indicate that it is intentionally empty. So this is the null, and yeah, or
Okay.
undefined.
Okay. Okay. Got it, got it. So, we have one of the most important data structure, array, right? So,
Yeah.
what is an array and how do you manipulate it in JavaScript?
Basically array in JavaScript is a single variable which is used to store the different element, and it can hold the item of any data type, and these items are indexing starting then the indexing of these items starting from 0. So basically to manipulate array, so JavaScript offers various methods. So all I recently know is that we have the push method, and we have the pop method, and we
Okay.
have the shift method, and unshift also. Yes, splice and slice, all I remember is this. Basically these method I used for commonly and frequently, so I'll know
Okay.
about these methods. And these
So,
methods yeah.
yeah, yeah, I understood. Understood. So, how do you add an item to the beginning and end of an array?
Okay, so basically to add an item at the beginning of the array in JavaScript, so we can use the unshift method. So in that situation, so for example, if we write the array dot unshift, in the bracket we have new item, so it will add the new item to starting of the array. And to add item in the end of the array, we can use the push method. So for example, if we write the array dot push, and under this we have defined the new item, so it will append the new item to end of the array. So basically the both method modify the original array and return the new length of an array after the item has been added. So basically these operations are commonly used to dynamically manage an element within the array. So this is how we can add an item at the beginning of and end of an array. So yeah.
Okay. And have you used functions in JavaScript?
Function. Yeah, I actually use the functions in
So,
JavaScript.
what's the purpose of function?
uh, Function purpose of functions. So
Yes, yes.
basically the functions in JavaScript are the block of code which is designed to perform a particular task, and basically they are the fundamental for writing the maintainable code. So when we define a
Okay.
function, so we actually can call it a multiple times throughout our program to
Mhm.
perform its task without the actually rewriting the code each time. So this is how
Okay.
it helps us. And the functions can take the input, which is called the parameter, and process them and return a result. So basically the functions helps organize code into a good manner, and it makes it easier to debug and allow for more readable and manageable code base. So this is all I know about the functions, and this is the purpose of functions also.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, how can you select an element by its ID and change its content?
Yeah. Sorry.
Uh, like if you get a chance, so how will you select an element by its ID and change its content?
Sorry. Can you repeat the questions?
Like I'm asking, like when you get a chance to select an
Mm-hmm.
element by its ID, so and change its content. So how can you select an element by its ID and change its content?
So basically, in JavaScript, we can select the item by its ID by using the document that dot get element by ID. So
Mhm.
yeah, method, basically this method. So and change its content by using the inner HTML property. So
Okay.
basically, by using the document dot get element by ID, where the
Mhm.
element ID is the ID of the HTML element we want to manipulate. So basically this method return the reference to the element. And
Yeah.
when we talk about the changes content, so when we got the element, so we can change its content by setting the inner HTML property. So let's take an example. When we write the element dot inner HTML is equal to new content, so it replaces the current content of the element with the new content.
Yeah.
Whichever value be given. So this is how we select an
Mhm.
element ID and its content.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So have you used arrow functions in Java?
Arrow functions. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Can you? Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So I use frequently arrow functions in JavaScript basically.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
should I explain this?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically the or arrow functions in JavaScript are the conscious way to write functions that is introduced in
Mhm.
ES6. So basically they
Mhm.
offer a shorter syntax as compared to the
Mhm.
traditional function expressions. And
Okay.
basically, yeah, the arrow functions do not have their own this argument, super or new target binding. So basically, instead they inherit this from the parent scope and at this of definition, which is sometimes useful in scenario where the function is used in a callback. So
Okay.
this is the arrow functions in
Mhm.
JavaScript actually.
Okay, okay. And what about this keyword? How does this keyword behaves differently in arrow functions compared to traditional functions?
This keyword behaves differently
Yeah, yeah.
in uh, tradition as compared to the traditional functions. So
Yes, yes, correct.
okay, so basically in JavaScript, the behavior of the these keywords differ
Mm-hmm.
between significantly between the arrow functions and traditional functions. Basically, it affecting how they can be used in various contexts. So
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about the traditional functions, so the value of this keyword is determined by I think how the function is called. So it can refer to the
Okay.
global object and the object it's belong to, or another context entirely if the function is called with call, apply or bind functions. So basically, and when we talk about the arrow functions, basically the arrow functions do not have their own this keyword context. So instead this keyword is inherited from outer functions where the arrow function is defined. So basically this means that this keyword within an arrow functions refer to the this keyword from its surrounding scope, and which does not change actually. So because of these differences, arrow functions are sometimes favored in modern JavaScript development for cases where the maintaining of the consistency of this keyword is necessary. So yeah, this is all I know about this keywords
Okay, so yeah,
differently.
so it's done from my side, and yeah, it was a very nice interview.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.